Hey, how's it going? So, if you're like me, one of the millions of people who are faced with upcoming elections this year, in actually a few days here in the UK, and you look at all of the candidates, you look at the options you've got, and you just don't feel any connection to any of them at all. God, they all feel just like a waste of space. You want to sort of blow up the whole system and start again. Not suggesting anyone resort to terrorism there, but I honestly look at the pool of candidates that I've got and I find them so uninspiring and so unrepresentative of myself. It kind of makes me recoil in horror a little bit and makes me not want to take part in democracy. I guess if you are like that, if you are like me, then I guess rest assured you're not alone. There are absolutely millions of us. And I think we're at this interesting turning point, and that is why I wanted to make this video. That apathy towards politics is actually a really dangerous thing. I think that now more than ever, despite this seemingly horrific choice of people that we've got to lead all these incredibly powerful Western democracies, and I think it's more important than ever for apathetic voters like myself to put aside the politics of the identities of the politicians and delve into what these parties are promising and what they're committing to, because we're at this point in Western democracy now, and what people are saying on social media and the surface level stuff that bubbles up to the top about people's personalities, that I feel like we are in real danger of getting swayed by perhaps people who don't have our best intents at heart. Now, what I mean by that is more than ever, we live in this era where information is freely available, but so is the opportunity for people with agendas, people, foreign governments specifically, I'm thinking about with agendas, to be able to push certain viewpoints on us and rile people up, get people angry or excited about the wrong things based on this cult of personality that we've got in politics at the moment. And I think it is such a dangerous thing. So I guess this video is about two things. It's about making sure that people get out there and make an informed vote. Please get out there and make an informed vote. If you do leave me right now, then, or if you do take only one thing away from this video, is please inform yourself about the decisions that people are promising to make and vote based on that, not just because you don't like somebody's personality, because I think it could be a make or break for Western democracy over the next few years. I think people being apathetic, looking at the pool of candidates, putting their hands up. There's so many young people who said they're not going to vote this year, and it really scares me. People putting their hands up and just going, I'm going to leave it to other people. I'm going to leave it to the common wisdom. People will make the right choice. Look at what happened with Brexit when that happened. A bunch of people abstained, and we got Brexit, and it was a fucking disaster for the UK. I think that's what happened in the US when Donald Trump got elected. My understanding of it was that lots of young people didn't go to the polls, minorities didn't go to the polls, and we got Donald Trump. There are terrible people who are espousing terrible things with a lot of traction and a lot of media attention. In this country, we've got awful people who they are seemingly like foreign agents. Now, I don't want to cast any aspersions against anybody or make any accusations, but that shouldn't swear on YouTube. People like Nigel Farage, they come across like they are working for Russia. I worry that people's abstinence is literally like going, whoop, putting their hands up and giving your vote to Putin or Xi Jinping. It's astounding, the situation we find ourselves in, where a couple of incendiary stories on social media can change the entire outcome of elections and democracies. And now more than ever, it is a time for people to be diligent and look at what parties are really promising and look at whose interests they have at heart and voting based on that. And God, I cannot wait for the current UK government to be booted out as quickly and as harshly as they possibly can be. They've been absolutely terrible for this country, and I know many people who voted for them who will be angry with me for saying that, but God, if you're still angry right now after their track record, then I'm happy for you to be angry. Okay, so first I want to look at the actual candidates who we've got to pick from, because look, there is still this pool of people who are seemingly like possible contenders to lead the country. to be honest, they're not probably all contenders, but it is worrying, like this pool of people we've got. I'm going to grab my notes just because some of them I didn't even know who they were. After having actually like tried to pay attention to the news, I had no idea who the leaders of the Liberal Democrats or the Greens were. And that is a massive, massive failure on the parts of these political parties. The fact that somebody who's been paying attention to current events has no idea who the fuck these people are. So there's going to be a lot of bleeping out of stuff in this video. Okay, so we've got Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer, who are heading up the Conservative Party and the Labour Party. And those are traditionally, they're the equivalent of the Democrats and the Republicans in the US. So the Conservative Party are like Republicans here, and the Labour Party are like Democrats here. So a slightly more right-leaning party, slightly more left-leaning party. Everybody in the UK, at least, knows who those two are. Rishi Sunak is the, I've got lots of expletives for him, who has been messing up the country recently. And then we've got Keir Starmer, who is this, frankly, he's meant to be the opposition, but my God, he is just such a lackluster personality. And this is what I mean. Like, I didn't know some of the candidates' names. I knew who Starmer was because he gets a lot of press because he is the opposition, but he just has no personality at all. He is absolutely lackluster. Now, he is an head of public prosecutions. He's dealt a lot with all sorts of stuff in the criminal space and law enforcement, which is great. And look, his party does have a pretty good manifesto for the arts and getting things back into education. Oh, my light died. How are you meant to represent a country like the UK on the world stage when you can't capture the imaginations of the people in the country? I mean, he is the most lackluster, most uninteresting person I've ever come across. I think that's going to turn a lot of voters off and send them looking at people who are far more hardcore and hardline in their views, and far more dangerous for the country. The irony is, and the sad part of it is, this party actually has some decent policies in their manifesto. There is the whole other thing with the Labour Party here, where they got caught lying. I mean, I think for this guy to take over the Labour Party, he tabled a manifesto, as I understand it, sold everybody on that, became the leader of this party, and then as soon as he was in, they dumped it all. And that was just to the members of his own party. So how do we know how honesty is going to be in office as well? But these are the choices we've got. We've got him or Rishi Sunak. The Conservative Party are just an absolute nightmare of lies and deceit and taking care of themselves as well. Okay, so we've got Sunak and Starmer, the Conservatives and Labour, the two leading parties. Oh, fucking hell, this is making me depressed already. Okay, then here's the first guy I had to look up, because I've never heard of him, is Ed Davey. Does anybody know who Ed Davey is? I'm sure people in other countries won't. Ed Davey, the leader of the Liberal Democrats. On earth were they thinking? Appointing this guy. All these, what is it with all the parties who could be opposition? This guy is, again, shockingly uncharismatic, shockingly uninteresting. And again, this party has some okay stuff on their manifesto, but just let down by the sheer awful quality of their representatives. I think this election year, this is a marking point for us. This is a point in history where we can stop and go, all right, we need to change who gets into politics and for what reasons. For the younger generation out there, the people who are going to inherit this country for the next generation. God, I make myself feel old. I'm 43. I'm not that old. But for the next generation of people who are going to inherit this country, we need to get more of you back into politics. And for everybody else out there, we need to incentivize people who are smart, who are intelligent, who are vibrant, getting into politics, because there are none of them left. There is nobody inspiring in this pool. How are you meant to get behind a leader with candidates like this? It's absolutely ridiculous. We need people who can inspire us and lead us as a nation. And we just don't have them. So Ed Davey, Liberal Democrats. We'll talk about policies and that stuff in a second. I'm just setting the scene here. And then we've got, well, look, the other candidates, they start to become even more minor parties, and there's even less of a chance that they're going to get in. So the Liberal Democrats at least normally have, I don't know, a little bit more of a chance than some of the rest of them. But then there's the outlier parties. There's one I'm particularly worried about. I'll get to them in a minute. The next one is the Greens. And this is really confusing. Again, I had to look up who was the leader because it's not clear. These people are not in the media enough. Stunningly bad PR job that the people who are running PR for these companies do, if I'm completely honest. But you have, and I have to look at my notes because these people are so forgettable and so uninteresting that I'm having to glance at notes, even though I've watched a bunch of videos with them this morning and read all their policies. Carla Denyer and Adrian Ramsey. And Carla Denyer and Adrian Ramsey, look, to be fair, like when I did watch some videos with these two, they were articulate. They were a little bit more charismatic than some of the other people I've mentioned. Both of them were a little bit more charismatic. They're this outlier party who are campaigning on one very specific policy point. Okay, so we've got Carla Denyer and Adrian Ramsey from the Greens. And then there's some I'm not even going to bother with just because they're a complete waste of space and time. Not because some people might not have good ideas, but because they are not serious contenders. There's going to be like 10 voters for them. The ones I'm really worried about, though, the ones who are kicking up a huge stink, who I guarantee you are led by someone who is on Vladimir Putin's payroll, is Reform UK and the massive knobhead who is Nigel Farage. This guy is just spectacularly dangerous for this country. He is, by the way, for any spoiler alert, I don't need to go into Reform UK's policy for the arts because they don't have one. Their manifesto doesn't mention this at all, and he's been quoted as saying that people should go out and get real jobs. Yeah, well done, you dickhead. Fucking hell. Oh, there's so much swearing in this video. There's going to be lots of beeping. I am going to put beeps in or obfuscate those words. I think it just shows the frustration I have with these people. They're idiots. The fact that this guy gets so much airtime on television because he's an instigator, because he's a fire starter, twisted fire starter, but not in a good way, not in the Keith Flint prodigy way, in a terrible way, in a way that's damaging for this country. He's this crazy, racist, barely masquerading as not, apologist for Vladimir Putin, who is out there seemingly trying to just destabilize our democracy. Seriously, what are people thinking backing this moron? So that's the pool of candidates we have. Oh my God. It's actually depressing to make this video, but like I said, I think this is the important thing to discuss. I hate politics. Hashtag I hate politics. It drives me insane. I don't want to have to be making videos about these idiots, but I feel like I'm forced to. Because something needs to be done. I am fired up. Maybe I should run for office next. No, absolutely not. Would not want to do that. That's my rant. What I want to do now is get into who is offering what in the UK to help people make a decision within a couple of days. If you are an artist, if you are a creative, even if you're not, if you're in a business that relies on creativity or has some small finger in the pie of creativity, or you just believe it can be as much of an asset to a country as I do, then this can be a really important decision how different political parties are backing the arts, and even more importantly, arts education in schools. Funding for the arts is one thing which I think is incredibly important. The other thing which I think is fundamental is making sure that children get the chance to be educated in the arts and in the humanities in a way that they are just not right now. So let's dive in. Let's look. I want to dive into their manifestos. For that, I'm going to jump over to the laptop and actually show you not only their manifestos themselves, but then there's a really handy site that some people put together that collates all this stuff for creatives in the UK from an organization called Creative UK. There is always going to be a bit of bias in this sort of thing, so I was very careful looking at this site to make sure that I wasn't looking at things with too much of a bias, and that I was trying to take things objectively as written in the manifestos. And I have cross-checked all of this with each of the manifestos on each of these parties' websites to make sure, and a variety of other news outlets as well, just to make sure that I'm giving you the most accurate information as I understand it. So let's take a look. Okay, so here we go, and I'm recording my screen, so you can see I'm on, here we go, Creative UK, wearecreative.uk, if you want to check this out for yourself. I'll put a link to this actual section in the description of this video, so you can play along if you like, bring it up, have it side by side, play along, see what you think, see if I'm right about some of my analysis of this stuff. So the key general election manifestos, what does it mean for culture and creative industries? The stuff that I'm really concerned about might not be what you're concerned about. That's why I was saying you need to look at this stuff for yourself. Think of what I'm telling you as a jumping off point. Okay, so the very first key thing that they've outlined is creative skills in education, something that's incredibly important to me. The Liberal Democrats, what do they want to do? They want to include arts subjects in the English baccalaureate. Fair enough, that's good, okay, cool. They want to give the education regulator here, Ofsted, the power to monitor the curriculum so that schools continue to include art, music and drama. I really like that one, that's cool too. Expand the provision of extracurricular activities such as music and drama with free entitlement for disadvantaged children. I love all of that stuff, that's great. Good guys, well done. Maintain access for free to national galleries and museums. That's something we have in the UK. It's fantastic. National museums and galleries are free of charge. So great, lovely again. I think you've got a little bit of that in the US. Anyway, side rant. Conservative Party, woohoo! Spoiler alert. It's not that exciting. Fund 100,000 apprenticeships for young people by curbing the number of poor quality university degrees that leave young people worse off. It's my understanding that what they mean by that is curbing degrees in the arts, is curbing degrees in the humanities. This is literally the control of information as far as I'm concerned. It's manipulating what people study and what people think, which is very, very scary to me. At least that's how I read it. Ensuring that everybody who wants to work in film, TV, gaming and music can work on live productions and at least secure 12 months of training. What does that mean? I mean, cool. Ensuring that people who want to can work on live productions. A lot of people don't work on live stuff. If they mean productions that are in progress, that are actually happening, cool. It is mostly not government organizations that fund this stuff. Secure 12 months of training, great, but it's a bit half-assed. Introduce the Advanced British Standard. This is another alternative qualification. And then give teachers in priority areas and key STEM and technical subjects bonuses of £30,000 tax-free over 5 years. Just pay them. Pay all teachers. They need that. Fund schools. They need that. It's very lackluster. Obviously, all the stuff that they've committed to is positive to a degree, but the way these idiots choose to implement it, they're not going to fund the arts, they're not going to put any more money into it, they are not going to address the massive funding issues. I know this country doesn't have any money, but in any case, it's a very lackluster offering from the Conservative Party. The Greens, here we go, review assessment targets in schools so that arts and vocational subjects are treated equally within the curriculum. The problem here then is that if you make it a choice and make arts and vocational subjects options, what happens is you get a whole bunch of kids who are probably too young to make a decision about what they want to do, only get exposed to a certain side of it. That, where you get institutions choosing either the cheapest or the easiest thing to implement, and you don't get this universal education that I think everybody needs, regardless of whether you go into the arts or you go into something vocational or more business focused or more scientific. I think everybody needs a balanced education. I think everybody needs a little bit of both to help them be well-rounded thinkers and individuals. That's just my take on it. Okay, investing $12.4 billion in skills and training and equipping workers to play a full role in the green economy. Fantastic. Look, I love the idea of a green economy, but it's very lackluster, and again, it's very easy to make a broad, general, sweeping promise like that with no actual plan for how it's going to be rolled out. And that's what I was talking about before with it seeming lackluster. That's why I think that they are lackluster. They don't have concrete plans, probably because they know they're not going to get in. Okay, let's finish up with the Greens. Increase school funding by $8 billion with $2 billion pay uplift for teachers. Cool. I think teachers need to get paid more. I think schools need more funding. Special needs particularly needs more funding. This is speaking as a parent who's dealing with a child with ADHD at the moment. It's really important that schools get more money. So good on you, Greens. I do like that. that? Okay, Labour Party. Remove VAT exemption and business rates so they want to basically tax private schools. Cool, that makes sense. The only danger is it's going to price even more people out of those private educations. It's going to make it even more unattainable. I think what you'll end up finding is that English private schools are going to probably mainly have rich foreign students in them, and yeah, it's going to be interesting because it will make a private education even more inaccessible, but hopefully make the public system better. So look, there are pros and cons to that. I get what they're doing. It's a risky one, taxing schools. I think there are better people to take money from. Energy suppliers, anybody? They're like making a mint off us. Supporting children to study a creative or vocational subject until they're 16, and adding accountability measures to support this. Look, what I said before about making people choose one or the other, personally, I think that people need a rounded education where they get a little bit of both. Creatives desperately need business acumen. I wish I had been taught the basics of business acumen at school. I'm a big fan of the late, great Sir Ken Robinson, who believed the whole education system needed a complete overhaul. But in place of that, I think kids need a well-rounded education, and I think they need to be equipped with real-world skills, not just get one or the other, because it leaves you lacking in one space or the other. Even if you're not going to go into that area, it's good to have knowledge of it, to understand society as a whole. Okay, launch a new national music education network with information on courses, great, but music education, fantastic. I love music. I love the fact that they want to educate kids on music, but it's so specific. Music is not the only art form, and music is fantastic, and there are some amazing musicians in this country, and it's probably a very popular thing. I can see why they want to get behind it, but why support one single art? It's exclusive of all the other art forms. What about film? I'm not saying only do film or only do music. I'm saying make room for them all. Okay, I've got ideas for this. If you need help, I feel like I could help out a lot of these people. Okay, establish Skills England to bring together business, training providers and unions with national and local government. Like a centralized government body to bring businesses and training and unions and national and local government all together to help make sure the workforce has the relevant skills for the arts and other stuff, as far as I'm aware, which is fantastic. It's good. I'd like to see more about how that would actually practically work. Okay, gosh, you see how frustrating this is. This is so, we're only on the first topic as well. I'm not going to go through absolutely everything, but this is one of the bits that's important to me, is education and enablement within the industries, because I think it's really, really, really lacking. So there we go. That's that bit. The other bit that is worth having a look at, that I think is really important for a lot of people who are creatives, is what they would mean for freelancers. So this is the other bit. So many people in the creative industries are independent people, freelancers who make their money from job to job, billing much larger clients a lot of the time independently. So if you're a freelancer, this is what each of these parties means for you. Starting with the Liberal Democrats, just because that's the order it's in on this site, they want to establish a new dependent contractor employment status in between employment and self-employment, with entitlements to include basic rights such as minimum earning levels, cool, okay, sick pay, cool, okay, how are you going to fund that? But I want to know more, and holiday entitlements as well. Awesome. I think what this means is for people who have longer-term contracts with larger organizations, then those larger organizations will be responsible for those sorts of payments. My worry here is then the large organizations will weasel out of doing this somehow and just force people to sign contracts on a slightly different type of thing, or just go for, they will favor employees and independent contractors will miss out. They will review IR35 reforms to ensure self-employed people are treated fairly. Review pension rules to protect portability between roles and address the gig economy. How are you going to address the gig economy? Great, portability between roles, we've got that already. Most pension providers do that. This is really tokenistic BS. Sorry, Liberal Democrats, but great, review the rules. I can still take my pension anywhere. I did that when I left my last employer. Okay, Conservatives. Abolish 9% national insurance main rate for the self-employed. So they're going to abolish the national insurance for the self-employed. So for anyone who's not from the UK, the national insurance is a payment that everybody makes here that basically funds the UK health system. The UK health system, which is falling apart at the moment. I don't know anybody who has an issue with paying national insurance. Everybody is so used to that in this country that it is, I don't know, show me somebody who's complaining about national insurance. Of all the taxes that you could vote, that you could try and campaign on abolishing, this is stupid. This is a rich people promise. Rich people don't want to be paying this because they've got private health insurance anyway and they don't care. For every frontline worker, for everybody in the creative industries, most of us who don't have health insurance are relying on the NHS, the National Health Service here, to provide us healthcare. We say it's free healthcare, but it's paid for by this national insurance. That's what that is. So abolishing that, it's such typical favoring the rich bullshit. Okay, promote digital invoicing. Oh, great. Woohoo! Who cares? People know how to do that without you idiots. Cool. I'm sure it could get better. Leave that to the private sector, you fools. Improve enforcement of the prompt payment code. The prompt payment code is voluntary. They can only enforce it for companies who've signed up to it. Useless. Tokenistic bullshit. They don't care about freelancers at all. They don't care about anybody except themselves. Anyway, I'm not going to go on a Conservative Party rant. I don't like any of these people, as I've already explained. But I'm trying to figure out who has the most positive points. The Green Party. Bring prompt payment code into law. Okay, Greens, good on you. I like that. That's cool. Make paying freelancers quickly. I think it's within 30 days, 30 to 60 days, making that law. That's huge. That's really, really, really cool. I really like that one. Good on you, Green Party. Win a point there. Not that I'm scoring this. Bar late payers from public procurement contracts. Say that 5 times. Okay, cool. Sure. Nice. Punish people for paying late by barring them from certain types of contracts. It will get people off their asses in certain situations. You see where I have an issue here? People will still pay everybody else late, but they won't pay the public sector late. Cool. Fixing a little bit of a problem there, guys. Mandate the Small Business Commissioner to investigate potential instances of poor payment proactively instead of only when a complaint has been made. Okay, so I do like this again. This is a publicly appointed person, a government official, whose job it will be to proactively chase up people who are poor payers for independent contractors. So good on you. Okay, you got 2 in this section, 2 points on my non-existent scoring chart. I love it. Establish equal rights employment for all workers from their first day of employment, including those in the gig economy and on zero-hour contracts. I like the idea, but I want to see how you'd enforce this. I want to see how this would come into play in real life. But these are some good ideas, and I hope whoever gets elected steals some of this stuff. No offense, guys, but somebody needs... That's cool. Deny operating licenses to gig employers that repeatedly break employment, data protection, or tax law. Okay, cool. Yeah, fair enough. Good on you. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, Labour Party. Last one on here. Take action on late payments to ensure small businesses and the self-employed are paid on time. Cool, guys. Like more details on that. I know this isn't their website, but the manifesto doesn't really say too much more than that, which is why it's summarized on this website like that. I had a look at the manifesto for this. Implement Labour's plan to make work pay, delivering a new deal for working people in full, introducing legislation within 100 days, banning zero-hour contracts. Cool. Ending fire and rehire. Very cool. Good on you. I know someone who had that happen to them recently. And introducing basic rights from day one to parental leave, sick pay, and protection from unfair dismissal. Workers and civil society on how to put these plans into practice before legislation is passed. And I understand you're trying to seem consultative, Labour Party, but then the problem is if you don't have a plan in place, it doesn't look like you've got anything to put into place. How do we know we're going to be able to put things into practice in 100 days if you don't have a plan?
This is Editing Nick here really quickly. For anybody who says that Labour's plan to make work pay, delivering a new deal for working people, is that plan, you should really have a read through it. I had a look at it and it feels more like a manifesto with some great ideas and some great starting points, but it isn't the tangible plan we need to convince businesses to really make a change. And I worry that the consultative approach, as I mentioned, could fail or fall over.
You need something ready to go. I mean, if there is a plan waiting in the wings, you should be publishing that now so we can look at it and go, yeah, cool, well done. So look, there we go. I can't go into every category here. This website breaks down innovation, intellectual property, another really important one there. Public service broadcasters, that's a very interesting one. Definitely worth looking at if you're a fan of the BBC, Channel 4 in the UK as well. Sustainability, energy and climate. I do passionately believe in those things. But yeah, I don't have time to go into it all in this video. And then migration as well. Migration's a huge issue in the UK. I think it is in lots of countries and lots of Europe at the moment. Migration is vitally important to this economy in this country. There are lots of lower paid workers who are from other countries. And if they all got booted out, if we change the migration laws, there's not going to be people in a lot of low paying jobs. But quite frankly, you say it creates more jobs for British people by keeping migrants out, but in fact what you do is you're just booting people out of low-paid jobs British people refuse to take, and then just making everything more expensive and difficult and creating deficits and shortages in certain areas. Really got to think that one through. Okay, look. That's a brief look at the policies. There's a key takeaways section on there where they summarize it all, the benefits of each party. You notice I missed out Reform UK there is because they don't have any of this stuff. They don't address any of this stuff. And yeah, they are garbage people. So look, to be fair, in some of those manifestos, there are some good ideas. You can probably tell from how I approach some of those who I'll end up voting for. It's probably down to 2 of the parties in there that I'm just still deciding to pick who I'm going to vote for. I don't want to influence people by saying who I'm going to vote for in this video. Not that I think I have any sway over anyone who might be watching this. I think people need to go and read this stuff and make their own decisions. So please, I implore you, encourage your elderly relatives who might be tempted to vote for the Conservatives or Reform in some crazy cases to really look objectively about how their decisions are going to affect their kids and their grandkids in a real tangible way, because it's such an important thing to do. I know it can be so difficult because people are so tribal about how they vote. So I think it's really important to try and get those people, but then also younger people too. If you are under 30 or if you know people who are under 30 who are going to abstain from voting, please do everything you can to get them to try and show up at the polls this year. We need the younger generation to speak. We need the younger generation to inform themselves and get out there and vote. It's integral. Otherwise we are going to end up with Prime Minister Nigel Farage. And if that doesn't scare you, I don't know what does. So please don't let that happen. I'm going to leave it right there. Take care of yourselves. Make the wisest choice you possibly can. Make the right decision you can for whatever country you're in. And stay creative. I hope to see you next time. I actually feel sad after that. That's really depressing.